Hello, my peeps. It's a new week, which means it's a new episode of Chit Chat with Bernie Bella. I'm your host, Bernadine. So, welcome to episode 33. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Drop a comment, say hello, say hi. I'm just going to try and get it up on my phone here. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. We stream live Thursdays at 9 p.m. on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. A few of the topics that we'll be discussing tonight are our regular weekly COVID updates, the Klansman gang trial, the Jussie Smollette trial, the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, a case of cannibalism in Russia, the death of Virgil Abloh, the death of Jacqueline Avant, and a few other stories. So stay tuned. Previous episodes can be found on our YouTube channel. So visit the site, like, comment, subscribe, and set your notifications to get notified when we go live. Anyways, as you all know, this is a talk show where we discuss sports, politics, current affairs, entertainment, gossip, and there's a lot of that tonight. Some news, what's happening in our community specific to Canada and Jamaica with a bit of the world thrown in. So your thoughts and opinions are always welcome. Hey, Colleen, how are you? Glad to see you back. Hey, Enid, how are you? Hope both of you had a good week. Hope everything went well for you guys. If whoever else check in, say hello, say hi. I'm glad to know that you can hear me. That's awesome. So I'm going to start off with our entertainment section. Started in Jamaica. Jamaican sprinter Elaine Thompson-Herah is the World Female Athlete of the Year for 2021. Thompson-Herah, the five-time Olympic champion, represented Jamaica at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games this past summer and won gold in the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 4x100-meter. The World Female Athlete of the Year for 2021 title winner was chosen by a panel of athletics experts. In addition to winning multiple gold medals in Tokyo, Thompson-Herah is the second fastest woman in history, running the women's 100 meters in 10.54 seconds at the Prefontaine Classic in Eugene, Oregon. This is second only to the record of 10.49 seconds set by Flojo of the United States in 1988. Thompson-Herah beat out several other female athletes for the title. She got her award earlier this week. I think it was on Tuesday, so congrats to her. Little bit of Jamaica, the big things out there. So we're good. Staying in Jamaica, we're gonna hit on to the dancehall scene. And Jamaica dancehalls from nothing to something artist Gully Bop has been admitted to the Kingston Public Hospital where he's being treated for complications from a hernia and blocked tubes. From his hospital bed where he's connected to drips, Gully Bop told the Star that he was experiencing one of the hardest pain he ever feel. In between bursts of pain, which had him screaming out in agony, the body specialist DJ disclosed that he was admitted on Sunday night, but should really have gone in before. But because he was afraid of the virus, he didn't show up. He said, me did come from Saturday on runway because I'm afraid of the COVID and me come back Sunday morning and runway again. But Sunday night, me did have to come back because the pain was too much. My taxi driver, gal boss, me have to big him up. Him been with me right through, Gully Bop, who detailed his illness as too hernia and me can't pass urine or other things. Gully Bop, whose storied career seen him bust at 50 years old and clamber out of hardships only to return. He says that I want somebody to do anything for me right now, and is my manager. She called me from England and we good, he said. Gully Bop says his focus is on getting better. I just want to make my fans know that I am sick, but me I come a road soon. So we will send well wishers out to Gully Bop. Still staying in the entertainment section, we're going to go around to the USA. And noted fashion designer Virgil Abloh died earlier this week um, at the age of 41 following a long battle with a rare form of cancer. The Off-White founder and artistic director of menswear at Louis Vuitton was not only a genius designer, a visionary, he was also a man with a beautiful soul and great wisdom, said LVMH chairman and chief executive Bernard Arnault. For over 2 years, Virgil valiantly battled a rare aggressive form of cancer, cardiac angiosarcoma. He chose to endure his battle privately since his diagnosis in 2019, undergoing numerous challenging treatments, all while helming several significant institutions that span fashion, art, and culture. So he was one of those multi-hyphenate persons. You know, when he went to become the head fashion designer at Louis Vuitton, he was the first Black person to do so. He was their first Black artistic director. His streetwear label, Off-White, was one of those artistic design. There's some designs that you're like, okay, that's not supposed to be worn on the street, but it make you feel, or you think you're cool because you're wearing that particular designer, so it's kind of edgy. So that was a part of his stuff. There's some of the stuff that are is in the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago. They did an exhibition on him. So since his passing, he was working, at the time of his passing, he was working on the first menswear collection for a Louis V store in Miami. So that was supposed to be held on Tuesday, which it was. So they had a whole memorial in the form of the opening of the store and also the presentation of his collection for spring and summer 2022. And that was held on Tuesday. So we'll say rest in peace to his family, condolences, rest in peace to him and condolences to his family. All righty. So still staying in the US, and Common and Tiffany Haddish has confirmed that they are no longer together. So they broke up after more than a year of dating. They said that they're too busy to be able to spend time properly in a relationship with each other. They say that they're never in the same city together, and both of them are just too busy for a serious relationship. So they confirmed that it was last August 2020 when they confirmed that they were dating. They met back in 2019 and lasted just a little bit over a year. I'm always amazed at the concept that you're too busy to date, or you're too busy to spend time with somebody you're dating. That always, I'm like, how do you not want to put the time in unless you're just not into that person? Because that's the only way I can see it. Like, you're just not that into that person that you can't make the time to date that person. And Common has a track record with dating top Black actresses and sports person. Like, he's dated some of the best, and for some reason, other than Serena, where I think their relationship lasted probably about 3 years, Angela Rye came close with 2 and a bit, but his relationships are just like a year and a bit, just a little over a year, just a little under a year. Like, there's something wrong there. I don't know, but that relationship is over. And Jacqueline Avant, a Los Angeles philanthropist and the wife of legendary music executive Clarence Avant, was fatally shot at their home in Beverly Hills yesterday. Police and paramedics arrived at the home after 2:23 a.m. call to find Jacqueline Avant, age 81, with a gunshot wound. Beverly Hills Police Chief Mark Stainbrook said at an afternoon news conference. She was taken to a hospital but did not survive. The suspect or suspects were gone when police arrived, and nothing was stolen from the house and no one else was injured. Someone went into the home. We don't know the purpose behind it, the chief said. I don't think it's a random attack, but I can't speculate on that. Jacqueline Avant was a long-time local philanthropist who led organizations that helped low-income neighborhoods, including Watts and South Los Angeles, and was on the board of directors of the International Student Center at the University of California, Los Angeles. The Avant's daughter, Nicole Avant, is a film producer and former U.S. ambassador to the Bahamas, and is married to Netflix co-CEO and chief content officer Ted Sarandos. The entire family wishes to thank everyone for their outpouring of love, support, and condolences for Jacqueline Avant. She was a longtime resident of Beverly Hills. She's lived in that area for 55 years. Her husband, Clarence Avant, is a Grammy-winning executive, and he's known as the godfather of Black music and was recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The 90-year-old was also a concert promoter and manager who mentored and helped the career of artists, including Bill Withers, Little Willie John, L.A. Reid, Babyface Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis. He founded Sussex Records and Taboo Records in the 1960s and 70s, and was chair of Motown Records in the 1990s. The Avants were married in 1967. They also have a son, Alexandre Dubois Avant. So earlier today, there was an update that the Beverly Hills police, they made an arrest in her shooting, and they said that the suspect used an AR-15 rifle during the shooting and then shot himself in the foot at another home during a robbery in Hollywood. Police arrested Ariel Maynor, age 29, of Los Angeles, in connection with a homicide. Apparently, multiple surveillance cameras showed his vehicle heading east out of Beverly Hills after the shooting. Shortly after, police from the Los Angeles Police Department Hollywood Division reported to a home on the 600 block of Graciosa Drive. They found a man in the backyard of a home who had a gunshot to his foot. Police determined that he accidentally shot himself during a burglary at the home and was arrested and taken to a local hospital. Also, if you're on Netflix and if you've watched the movie called The Black Godfather, it was about Avant, and it was produced and directed by his daughter, Nicole. You can imagine at age 81, you're in your house, minding your own business, and some carelessness just come in, they come kill you and wreck your whole family life. That man is what, 90? They've been married for 55 years, 54 years, and all of a sudden, in a careless gunshot, that gone, just like that. You're like, it. That's so hard. In a minute, your life gone because of somebody's carelessness. That's just crazy. So the next item in our entertainment section is Jamaica UK Connection. So the circus continues around the circus continues around the king of the dancehall, Mr. Beenie Man himself. So for those who were here last week and remember the story that I brought up with him having a new girlfriend and all of that kind of stuff, this is a continuation of that. So it would seem as if he's got himself into a little bit of a pickle. It's been alleged that he's not able to leave the UK due to one of his kids' mother taking him to court for child support. Apparently, the kid is 16 years old and he's not paid child support during that time. And she took him to court in England, and the judge took away his passport so he can't leave the UK. That's what's being alleged. So we're going to use, alleged. Yeah. Also, apparently he has a side chick, or has had a side chick for the past 15 years. I don't know how you stay a side chick for 15 years, but hey, for those who know, you know. And apparently she's pregnant. So since him go England in a summer or whenever, sometime this year in breed, or she not have pitney yet, she's presently pregnant. And because he's no longer showing her the attention that he used to show her, he's taken up with somebody else, Camille Lee. It's not gone over well with the side chick and her mother. So word on the street is that they're very upset at the turn of events. A pure customer course right now. Like, the mother has made the rounds of at least 4 bloggers that I know and follow, and they've all posted on YouTube. I'm not gonna post the voice notes because apparently the mother is 62, and the things that she's saying on the voice notes and stuff, like, I don't want to hear that. I didn't listen to all of them, but some of what I did hear, it never sound good. There's threats, there's all kinds of stuff. And of course, since the mother went on social media and on all the blogs, Camille went on her IG today, and she's putting out her version of events that concerns her. So she's saying that she's been threatened and all of these kinds of things. The woman is called, and the woman in her going to the various blog sites and putting out voice notes and all of these things, she has left threatening information out. It's out. It's in the blogosphere. You can't take it back. You can't say you never mean it and all of them something, because you put it out. You put it out, and it's not good. So Camille, she's posted that their relationship is 21 years in the making, and her ex-husband is okay with her moving on. He just wants her to be happy. Everybody is single. So that's why they're taking in the opportunity now to, come out with their relationship. She's also stated that it's since her birthday, because her birthday was last week. So it's since she's posted the videos and stuff of her and Beenie Man's PDAs, that the threats have gotten worse, the stalking have gotten worse, because those who are in her circle in England knows what was happening. So she said for the past month and a half, she's been stalked, threatened, and all of them stuff. Other family members had to, get involved and all of that stuff. So she decided to come bring her part of the story. She's saying that the daughter isn't pregnant and all of that kind of stuff, that it's just lies and all. But what I found the most interesting in this part of the whole saga is that the side chick, the 15-year side chick, is the daughter of Beenie Man's brother ex-wife. So that would have made her niece by law. So that part is a murky part for me. But other than that, Everybody's an adult, to each his one, but it not look good. People are speculating that he's got an album to promote that's coming out and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, they said no publicity is bad publicity. There are times when it's bad publicity. So this right now, not look good for him. Not at all. Not looking good at all. But if anything else happens, I'll keep you guys posted and let you know next week, because I find it quite interesting. That all of that, I don't understand how. I guess that's a part of being in the public's eye and being a celebrity. So it is what it is. But yeah, Enid says the voice note does not sound very good. No, it doesn't. And to think that it's coming from a 62-year-old person who should know better. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you're with a guy and he doesn't want you anymore, what you gonna do? You gonna cuss him and say, hey, you need to want me, or no, move on. Move on. And if you were a side piece for 15 years, how many other people has he had during those 15 years? He done had married and baby mamas and kids born in that 15 years. You gonna argue over this one? You know, go and keep your side chick cool and keep your mouth shut. Oh man. Colleen says, girl pan the side, I do it the best. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's a lie, but who knows? Who knows? And staying in Jamaica, y'all know that people complain about getting outrageous water bill in a Jamaica. But imagine getting a water bill for over $500,000. So governor, who's an artist, a singer, he's residing in the USA, I think New York, but a Jamaican artist. He wasn't pleased with the water bill sent to him by the Jamaica Water Company, National Water Commission, recently. So he shared on social media yesterday that he received a massive bill from the company in the amount of $540,078.61 Jamaican. And yes, I did the conversion. So the conversion would have been around $3,465 US, or $4,390.88 Canadian. The artist who shared the bill on his Instagram page did not give details as to what the amount is and for what period, although the billing date says November 26th, while the due date to pay the bill is December 17th, 2021. So he did tag NWC and MOGA, Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, with the shrug emoji. So I guess he wants MOCA to investigate why NWC is sending a bill for that high, suggesting that it's fraud and it's criminal. But needless to say, his friends had a bit of fun at his expense based on their comments under his posting. Nevertheless, since then, NWC has responded to him and asked him to send his account details with a contact number, copy of the bill, and his email address for them to investigate the matter. Can you imagine getting a water bill only for over $4,000 for 1 month? That would be like 5-6 years worth of water bill up here. That would be at least 5-6, maybe even 7 years worth of water bill alone. Because your water bill for the year, depending on how many of you live in the house, is normally less than $500 a year for water. So imagine getting a $4,000 water bill. That's crazy. Crazy. But it is what it is. People complain about getting the huge light bill and a huge water bill. So yeah. So that's the end of our entertainment section. We're gonna go into our sports section and starting with My Raptors, they're on a 3-game losing streak. They're presently 9-13. I'm not happy. And they're presently sitting at number 12 in the Eastern Conference. The fact that they're missing several players due to various injuries is not helping them at all. They are presently playing the Bucks tonight. Last I checked, they were up by about 12 points. I'm not quite sure what happened since I've gotten on, but hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll win tonight and get back on the winning side of the coin so that they can make the playoffs, because if they continue to lose, that won't be good. Argos, their next game is December 5th, which is Sunday. They will be playing the Hamilton Ticats. If they win, they will go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So sending some luck to the Argos, and hopefully they'll win that game. Maple Leafs, they're on a 5-game winning streak right now. Last night I saw a total, like they were winning by 8-1 last night. And I'm like, what happened to these Leafs? Who are they? Them really are going with themselves. They're actually first in the Atlantic Division right now. So you can imagine that if they keep winning, they'll actually make the playoffs and can possibly go to the finals. Another fingers crossed. Another fingers crossed for the Maple Leafs. So that's our sports section. And we're going to start with going to our news story section, and we're going to start in Baltimore. So Heather Porter, a 13-year-old girl who was found dead in Tucson in 1981, Baltimore County Police say DNA evidence has now revealed she was killed by a now dead Hallithorpe residence. The Baltimore County Police said they've solved the 40-year-old murder, announcing Wednesday, that was yesterday, that the 13-year-old girl who was found strangled to death in 1981 was killed by a Hallithorpe man who has since died. Too bad he's not around to go to jail. The department wrote in a release that DNA evidence has proven that former Hallithorpe resident John Anthony Patrica Jr. killed Heather Porter in September 1981. Patrica lived near where the teenager was last seen, police said. Porter went missing on September 23, 1981, and was found dead the next day in a wooded area near Ridgewood Road and Goucher Boulevard in Towson. An autopsy determined that she'd been sexually assaulted and strangled. However, police say technology was not then advanced enough to use DNA taken from the scene to identify a suspect. The department said that the DNA sample was analyzed by Bode Technology last year, which forwarded their results to the FBI. Police say that in February this year, the results indicated Patrica as a potential suspect. The department said Patrica had been arrested on rape charges in the 60s and the 70s and lived in the 100 block of Rich Avenue, a short distance from where Porter was last seen. They said Patrica died and was buried at a local cemetery in 2000, where officers and members of the Chief Medical Examiner's Office exhumed his body on March 11th after receiving authorization from the Baltimore County State's Attorney's Office to do so. Police say that on November 12th, DNA they received matched the suspect's DNA recovered from the original crime scene. Sue Yotzi, a childhood friend of Porter, who said she was the last person to see her before she went missing, said she's been called in the department for years to keep the pressure on detectives. Yotzi, 55, said Wednesday that her stomach has been in absolute knots ever since the department told her weeks ago that a suspect had been identified. She said her friend's death severely impacted her development in the years following. She said she was walking with Porter the day she went missing and left her only blocks away from her home before she was reported missing. As a 14-year-old waking up the next day to find out my best friend was murdered, I couldn't function for years, Jussie said. She said Porter had a passion for art and drawing and was a huge Paul McCartney fan who baked the musician cakes for his birthday every year. She added that the two were loyal to one another, which fueled her desire to see her murder solved all these years later. Oh, wow. 40 years. And the sad part about it, the man dead, 21 years ago. So him not going to pay for the things that well, at least the good part about it that her family can rest easily, knowing, I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing that they found out who killed her, if that's additional closure, or, they would have rather not known since it's been so long. So it's two sides of the coin. Not quite sure how I would look at it, having not experienced that. So, but if you're just checking in, drop a comment, say hello, say hi. Hey, Charmaine, how are you? Thanks for checking in. Hope all is well. Hope you had a good week. Staying in the news section, we're going to go to Jamaica. And a man who allegedly escaped custody in St. Lucia and fled to Jamaica and was captured has once again broken free from jail. Orville Purnell, who was awaiting extradition to St. Lucia, escaped custody from the Central Police lockup yesterday morning. So that was Wednesday. The 27-year-old is from Belgium Road, Buff Bay in Portland. Purnell was first arrested on a warrant in St. Lucia for alleged murder, illegal possession of firearm and ammunition, and escaped custody in August of 2020. He escaped in October 2020 and fled to Jamaica. Purnell was arrested in Buff Bay, Portland on Wednesday, July 14th by investigators from the JCF Fugitive Apprehension Team. He was arrested on a warrant for murder, illegal possession of firearm, and escape. And these offenses were allegedly committed in St. Lucia in August of 2020. Is an escape artist. He's an escape artist because he's wanted for murder, illegal ammunition, and escaping custody. And then he escaped again in October 2020, fled to Jamaica, captured in July 2021, and in November 2021, he escaped again. So they're saying that the last time they saw him, he had dreads, so he may have cut his locks since then. But he's an escape artist, that man. Very much escape artist. Charmaine says, I'm nice and warm. That's awesome. So am I. I got long sleeves on. And Charmaine said, my sentiments too. Yeah, he must be an escape artist because a 3-time now him escape. 3-time now him escape. But so we're moving on to Texas, and these PPP money, I said enough people go to prison, Enough people are going to go to prison for this PPP money. So a Texas man was sentenced today to 110 months in prison for his scheme to fraudulently obtain and launder proceeds from more than $1.6 million in Paycheck Protection Program. That's a PPP loans guaranteed by the Small Business Administration under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Secures Act. According to court documents, Lee Price III, age 30, of Houston, who pled guilty in September to charges of wire fraud and money laundering, submitted fraudulent PPP loan applications to 2 different lenders on behalf of 3 LLCs that he owns. He attempted to get over $2.6 million and was actually able to obtain over $1.6 million in PPP loan funds. He falsely represented the number of employees and the payroll expenses in each of the loan applications. And then to support the PPP loan applications, he also submitted fraudulent tax records and materials illustratively with respect to the various LLCs. He also applied for the loans in the name of an individual who died shortly before the application was submitted. The best part of all of this, is not like the man used it to do investments and all of those things. He used the money to purchase a Lamborghini Urus. I actually want one of those, but if I do purchase it, it'll be through legally gained monies because I do like those the Lamborghini SUVs. He also bought a Ford F-350 truck, a Rolex watch. He paid off a loan and also paid off a loan on a residential property. They were also able to get back over $700,000 of the money that he fraudulently obtained. So he got 110 months, so that's just a little under 10 years in prison. Not worth it at all. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. But we're going to move on to France. And every week there's a story about a priest somewhere doing something inappropriate. Every week I do research, there's a story about a priest doing something inappropriate. Anyways, if you've just joined in, say hello, say hi. Hey, Shermed, I see you from across the ways over there, one part, one corner. How are you? Okay, so the Archbishop of Paris has offered to step down after admitting to having had an ambiguous relationship with a woman in 2012. Archbishop Michel Petit, who has led the Paris Church since 2018, sent a letter to the Pope offering to resign following a report in a magazine. There was no indication if or when Pope Francis might act on it. He has in the past refused to accept similar offers from other prelates caught up in scandal. The report states that Petit had a consensual, intimate relationship with a woman. And you all know Catholic priests, they made a vow of chastity, abstinence, and forsaking all others. So for him to be having inappropriate, intimate relationship with a woman, that is a big no-no. They said that they found out because he sent the email by mistake to his secretary. So that's how people found out about it. He claimed, so on one hand, people are claiming that it was an intimate sexual relationship. And on the other hand, the priest is claiming that it was, an ambiguous relationship. So we would like to know what part is ambiguous about it. I don't understand the part that is ambiguous about it at all. I mean, I understand the part that you either had the relationship with the lady or you didn't have the relationship with the lady. Ain't nothing ambiguous about it. That part there's no gray area in that part. It's either yes, I did or no, I didn't. No gray area. No gray area at all. And if there's people who are stating that, they can do that, that's fine. Colleen says the man eating salt. If him do use a pink salt, it shouldn't bother him so much. But if he stop using salt with so much iodine, he's supposed to all right. Calling it a mistake, he said he decided not to see the woman anymore after speaking with Cardinal Andre Vintro. No, the thing is, if you had to speak to your cardinal about your relationship with a woman, that means already in your mind, you know it's an inappropriate relationship. That means in your mind, you already know you did something wrong. You know, but as of today, he is still a priest. The Pope has not yet accepted his resignation, and we'll see what happens. Colleen says him want the real red meat. Him can't eat beef rare. The world need change in every way. This is a Catholic church we're talking about. They ain't changing. But him can't get some rare steak. Throw some salt on the rare steak and him good to go. I'm told, there's not much difference. So yeah. So we're going to move on to New Jersey. And in New Jersey, what Colleen says, so you think. That's what them tell me. I don't know. I'm just saying. A New Jersey mother who had been granted a temporary restraining order against her husband before he killed her and their two children. The family has filed a lawsuit against the property management company and all the other people that are involved. The article goes on to say that she was fearful that her husband would come into their apartment and hurt their children. So Esther Reyes de Severino begged the managers of Penns Grove Gardens in Salem County, New Jersey, to change the door locks after she was granted the temporary restraining order against him in January 2020. They stated that she asked at least 5 times in 1 week and nothing happened. And on February 5th, 2020, Miss Reyes de Severino's estranged husband, Eugenio Severino, age 47, unlocked the door with his key, walked in, stabbed her and their 2 children. Then he went to the park and hanged himself. So the wife's family is contending in their lawsuit, which was filed back in November, that the apartment operator should have done more to prevent the deaths of Miss Reyes de Severino and her 2 children. They're claiming negligence and wrongful death, breach of contract, and negligent hiring and supervision. They're also seeking compensatory and punitive damages, as well as a $1,207 security deposit that was paid for the unit. Now, me can say the compensatory and the punitive damages, those can be millions. But how is it that they still have to sue for the security deposit? Would that security deposit not automatically be given back to the estate? I wouldn't that money all be automatically given back to the estate? And also based on the fact that Mr. Severino was not listed as a tenant on the property, only Mrs. Reyes. They should have from the mere fact that she took the TRO, temporary restraining order, to them and say, hey, I've got this in place, I'm fearing for my life, come change your locks. They should have done that immediately, if not the next day at the latest. But to not do it for a whole weeks, and this is a result of that. Sue them, get as much money as you can get, and when you win, put a lien against everything that they own. Every last thing they own. No, man, that's wrong. Very, very wrong. A pork in one. Colleen, pork is white meat. I'm going to have you leave my pork alone, but pork is white meat, okay? Pork is white meat. So we're moving on to Chicago, and I don't know how many of you remember back in 2019 when Justice Smollette reported that he was a victim of a targeted racist and homophobic attack by two men in downtown Chicago. But prosecutors are now alleging that he staged the assault, and he's charged with 6 counts of felony disorderly conduct, 1 count for each instance in which he gave an allegedly false report to 3 different officers. Okay. It is being alleged that Jussie Smollette hatched a secret plan to concoct a hoax hate crime against himself. And opening day of the trial was Monday or Tuesday. And statements are that in January 2019, he told police that he was attacked by 2 men who shouted pro-Trump slogans and tied a noose around his neck. But the defense lawyers told the trial that their client was a real victim. Jussie has denied wrongdoing. 15 jurors were chosen on Monday to hear the case. And on Tuesday, a Chicago police detective testified in the trial that the former Empire actor appeared upset when he was informed that a surveillance camera did not record his alleged attack. Kimberly Murray, the detective, also said that Smullet was initially uncooperative when she interviewed him, including refusing to give medical records or a DNA swab. A detective who also interviewed Smollette 2 weeks after the alleged assault and after the brothers who are Black had been taken into custody said Smollette started to change his story. Smollette told Chicago Police Department Detective Robert Graves his attacker had pale skin when he previously said he was white. When Graves confronted Smollette about the discrepancy, Smollette said the attacker acted like he was white by what he said. Graves also told Smollette the 2 brothers, Abimbola and Olabingo Osondero, were in custody for the hate crime. He said it can't be them. They're Black as sin. Graves recounted, saying he took that to mean the brothers' skin is very dark. Graves testified that during the February 14th interview, Smollette said he would sign a complaint against the brothers, though his attorney stopped him from doing so. About 90 minutes later, Smollette sent one of the brothers a text message. Graves said, "If convicted, Mr. Smollette faces a prison sentence of up to 3 years. Given his lack of previous convictions, legal experts said that he may get a lighter sentence or probation is more likely." I'm not quite sure why somebody would go through the trouble of concocting that whole thing. Is it what, to draw attention to yourself? Like, bro, you're on a hit TV show. I'm a reserve judgment on this one until all the facts come out, because I don't know. I was skeptic about the whole situation when it happened. Nothing has happened since then to change my mind about what happened. But the fact that you thought that, you need to pay people to harm you in order to draw attention to yourself and to do whatever. It's crazy to draw attention to a fight that you figure should be more publicly known. Not cool, but not cool. Moving on to our COVID roundup section of the program, and we're going to start in Germany. So if you just joined, drop a comment, say hello, say hi, let me know what's popping, let me know how your day is going. In the meantime, I'm going to go through a little bit of COVID roundup in Germany, and they're expected to imposed restrictions on the unvaccinated on Thursday, which is today, as it seeks to break a dramatic surge in daily coronavirus infections, as exacerbated by the discovery of the Omicron strain. Outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel and her successor Olaf Scholz will discuss with leaders of Germany's 16 states restricting the unvaccinated from access to all but the most essential businesses, such as grocery stores, pharmacies, and bakeries. So Germany has decided, or is deciding, that if you're not vaccinated, you are only entitled to go and have access to essential businesses. That's Germany. UK has imposed a travel restriction on many countries due to the new variant Omicron. A lot of the southern African countries are on that list. China has banned flights from a lot of countries, including Canada, due to the Omicron variant. The USA, UK, and other EU countries have imposed travel bans against South Africa, Nigeria, Malawi, Egypt, and other countries, again, in the southern African continent, section of the continent. We're going to Greece. And Greeks who are over the age of 60 and refuse coronavirus vaccinations could be hit with monthly fines of more than 1/4 of their pension, which equals to €100, which is about 150 Canadian dollars a month. And they're saying that the fines will be tacked onto their tax bills in January. They're saying it's a get tough policy that the politicians say will cost votes, but it will save lives. And in Israel, the government this week approved resuming the use of a controversial phone monitoring technology to perform contact tracing of people confirmed to have the Omicron variant. So what that is, there's an app that they'll put on your phone if you're deemed to have COVID, this particular strain. There's an app that they'll put on your phone in order to track your movements, track where you're going, and all of that kind of stuff. And in Jamaica, Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton says the ministry will continue to be guided by the WHO, World Health Organization, as it relates to administering COVID-19 booster shots. And Jamaica has, with immediate effect, imposed restrictions on travelers from a number of African countries following the emergence of the Omicron variant. Few of the countries are Botswana, Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. When did Swaziland get renamed? See what happened when you come out of school long time? Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. So Swaziland is now Eswatini. Interesting. And on the federal level, Canadian federal level, after a 1-month grace period that allowed for negative COVID test results in place of proof of vaccination, unvaccinated travelers will, for the most part, no longer be allowed to get on a plane or passenger train in Canada, and that starts this month. Transport Canada made the announcement in October. They gave travelers up until November 29th to show a negative PCR test before they're able to take it within 3 days, 72 hours, in place of the proof of vaccination. So that will no longer be applied if you're not vaccinated or you don't have a pass, you're not able to go on a plane or a train. And also, Canada has no immediate plans to close the border, but everyone coming into the country, except from the USA, will be required to take a COVID test at the border, regardless of their vaccination status. And that's due to this new strain of the virus that's out. And in Ontario will expand vaccine booster eligibility to anyone 50 and up. So if you're 50 and over, you can go get your booster shot for your vaccination. But people them just work quick and fast. You just never know. You can go on vacation today and you get stuck in one country because things happen so fast. Like you leave and go on vacation today and tomorrow you get stuck in other country because you can't leave because there's no flight coming out because they're shutting down things. That's crazy. I ain't taking my person anywhere. My person staying right here. This person is not going anywhere at all. So just to do a roundup on the numbers, the COVID numbers are as follows. So in Canada, 1.8 million have been tested, 29,739 deaths, with an increase of 131 over last week's numbers. Worldwide numbers are 264 million have been tested, 5.22 million have died, with an increase of 50,000 over last week's numbers. In Ontario, 620,000 have been tested, 10,012 have died, with an increase of 27 over last week's numbers. And in Jamaica, 91,272 have been tested, 2,396 have died, with an increase of 31 over last week's numbers. So that's our COVID roundup. Just know that if you're planning to travel, have a contingency plan as to where you're going and how long you can stay there. Because with the way things are going, you don't know when countries are going to shut down where you can't manage to travel back to your country within the time frame. And if you only go, say, I go hotel and you're going for a week and you've prepaid your hotel fees and all of that stuff, and your money run out, then what? You could be homeless in a foreign country. So be mindful of your travel plans, be mindful of where you're going, and have a contingency plan. Good night, Lindsay. How are you? Hope you had a good week. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for checking in. So we're going to go back to our news roundup. We're going to go to Jamaica. I am going to give you an update on the Klansman trial. And, you know, when you're looking at the different court cases that's going on, there's sometimes it's spicy and it just exciting. And then there are other times where it just dragging. This part of it is the dragging part. So this week, from last week into this week, they've had mostly police officers on. I think one or two police officers, one of the lead investigator on the case, he's been one of the witnesses right now. And that particular police officer earlier this week positively identified most of the members that were charged. And he also further revealed that one of the defendant is a former JDF member. So for those who don't know, a JDF member is a soldier. And Jermaine Robinson, who is also still have family ties within the JDF. So the investigator who's on the witness stand now is a member of CHIT. Said that he first met Robinson when he was being held at Grandspend Police Station in early 2019. He said he had visited that lockup based on certain information and had spoken with Robinson for upwards of 20 minutes. The sleuth, he said, was in the company of another detective, testified that at the time he had told Robinson that he was a suspect in the ongoing gang investigations. He said the JDF operative, after being cautioned, made no comment. He then said he had another conversation with Robinson as it relates to his job. I asked him if he was a member of the JDF, and he said yes. One of the questions I asked him at that point, I learned that his father was also a member of the JDF. He said he then asked Robinson about his legal representation, at which point the soldier asked the detective for a call. He spoke to maybe the detective. The detective thinks he spoke to his wife, and then he said after that he left. Apparently, the soldier was a member of Brian's security detail. So Brian is the leader of the Klansman, otherwise known as Black Man, and he's known him since 2017. And each time he was introduced to him, he keep bragging that a soldier this, meaning to say that him a brag say a soldier surround him, so soldier know his bad deeds that he are doing. They're saying that on several other occasions involving the gang and detailed one instance where it said Robinson, who had injured one hand while handled one hand that was placed in a cast, handled an AK-47 with the other hand. He also claimed that Robinson was often where Brian was. I'm security details, so I'm all go where the boss go. He said the last time he saw the army man was at a checkpoint in Spanish Town. He told them not to search me and just let me through. Witness number one. So the witness number one stated that at one point he saw him at the checkpoint and didn't tell them not to search him. So the corruption, it just everywhere. Everywhere. Because imagine Zozo at work and a known gangster who was probably strapped at the time showed up at the checkpoint where the soldiers were, and one of the soldiers said, let him in. No search him, just make him go on through, because him know him because of the other side of his gang life that he's living. Witness number one also told the court that Robinson then pulled him aside and asked him if he hadn't heard from the general and asked for the witness's phone number. According to the witness, Robinson said the thing coming like a joke thing, this he said, meant that he wanted more people to be dead and more killings in the Spanish Town area. You can imagine now the soldier, the gang side of the soldier is saying that things not hot enough for him. Like him need more killings for go on and more people for dead up in the Spanish Town area. So on his good side, he's a soldier upholding the law. And on the bad side, he's a gangster wanting more people for dead and all of them something there. In other testimony, witness number two, so all of that information was based on witness number one and the police officer giving their accounting of what they know. In other testimony, witness number two, who was the first gang member turned crown witness to take the stand after the trial began, had also said Robinson stood guard at his house at night while Brian was there. He said during those times, Robinson had a gun in his possession. Robinson also told him that he was a soldier. Witness number two, however, stated that he had never seen Robinson in uniform. The defense lawyer in their cross-examination stated that witness number two, based on what he was saying, that Robinson hardly had any time to commit crimes, having been stationed in Flanker in Montego Bay, St. James, after graduating as a member of the JDF. She said her client was transferred to Kingston in 2017 and was placed at a special course in Upper Camp where was confined. However, the witness countered that, stated that although Robinson hardly had time due to work, he still played a role in the gang. I keep saying every week that this is like a movie. Because the things that are coming out, you can't imagine now when other members of the JDF I hear said this man has said that is like a joke thing I go on because enough people not dead. You can imagine that. If you know, say you work along with them, then you have to again imagine how many others are there in still in the force who no get catch yet, and still in the soul in the JDF who no get catch yet, who are still perpetrating crimes. Like how many others did they not get? How many others still perpetrating the crime? How many others still doing badness? And yet every day people get up and say Jamaica a crime area and Jamaica a crime this. But if the people who are supposed to uphold the crime are committing the crime, oh, if you get better, it's like the fireman what keep burning down places that complain them have to work too hard to put out fire. That's what's going to happen. But I'll keep you guys posted next week as to whatever happens in the courts between now and then. What does it as the saga continues? We'll thingy. Lindsay says she's tired. Get a glass of wine, Lindsay. Put your leg up and listen to me talk for a while. I know you guys we thank you for all that you're doing because you guys are really, really, really doing too much above and beyond. Oh, Colleen, Raptors win. Oh, thank you. Man, that 3-game losing streak was just for the birds. That 3-game losing streak was just for the birds. So I'm going to move on to Barbados. And you would have to be under a rock this week not to know about all the goodness that's been happening in Barbados this week. So they've done something that Jamaica is still only dreaming of doing. And that they've now become a republic. They are now a republic similar to Trinidad. They got rid of the Queen as the head of state. Prince Charles represented the Queen at the handover ceremony. They stopped pledging allegiance to the Queen. They, got rid of their colonial past. They now have a president instead of a prime minister as their head of state. They're also still a part of the Commonwealth. They're still a part of the Commonwealth. And I guess the part of it that caught everybody by surprise that everybody was talking about yesterday was the fact that the Right Honorable Robin Rihanna Fenty is now a national hero of Barbados. That part, that's what I got. Besides them talking about the dress that she wore to the ceremony, which girl, wear whatever you want to wear. The fact that she is a national hero is, what caught everybody's attention. That was just amazing for Barbados. That was just amazing for the Bajans. And dear Jamaica, please take note. I know we've had a woman prime minister already. I will not express my thoughts on that going forward. But it took a woman prime minister, now president, to guide Barbados to this point. Dear Jamaica, dear Jamaican peoples, civilian citizens, do something. Do something. Let us go along that path, because at the end of the day, England not do nothing for Jamaica. When you forget visa to go to England, as one of the nations, as one of the nation of the state, of the kingdom. You don't need the queen anymore because the queen not done nothing for you. So dear Jamaica, dear Jamaicans, dear politicians in Jamaica, please and thank you. We will hereby remain waiting. I cannot vote in Jamaica, but people, somebody need to take up that. Also, part of that too is that any reference to royal or crown in terms of government documentations, government buildings, and all of that will be removed. So the Barbados Royal Police Force will now just be the Barbados Police Force. Anything that, where here you still, in Canada, you still say crown land, it will now become state land of the state. So, I'm not going to talk to Canada about getting rid of the queen because, please. But Jamaica, please and thank you. Please and thank you. Start something. Start something. We're going to move on to the UK. And again, police officers, Lindsay says, hooray for them. Yeah, big hooray for them. Big hooray for them. We're going to go on to the UK. Police officers, Special Constable Jamie Lewis and Dennis Jaffer describe Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman as dead birds on social media. The two police officers who took shameful crime scene photos and described the murdered sisters, Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman, as dead birds on social media, has been fired after an investigation by the tribunal. Both police officers use the offensive term when sharing messages on WhatsApp groups after straying from their cordons to take pictures of the two women who were found dead in bushes in Friant Country Park, Wembley, northwest London. Lewis will be instantly dismissed from the force, while Jaffer has already resigned. I understand people sometimes. But I understand people. And this next story that we're moving on to in New Jersey, again, is another police officer, but I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. So an off-duty police officer in New Jersey is accused of fatally striking a pedestrian with his car and then taking the body to his mother's home for advice. That is the height of being a mama's boy. Acting Essex County Prosecutor Theodore N. Stevens announced the charges filed against 25-year-old Newark police officer Luis Santiago on Wednesday, yesterday. According to the press release from the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, the incident occurred on November 1st at around 3 a.m. while Santiago was driving his 2005 Honda Accord on the Garden State Parkway near exit 151. I actually know where that is. I actually know where that is because there's a mall not far from there. While driving, Santiago failed to maintain his lane and traveled on the right shoulder of the Garden State Parkway and fatally struck a pedestrian. The victim was identified as 29-year-old Damien Z. Dimka. The Essex County Prosecutor's Office said that Dimka was a nurse from Bergen County in New Jersey. The press release also stated that after striking the victim, Santiago and a passenger in his vehicle, identified as 25-year-old Albert Guzman, allegedly declined to call 911 for assistance or render aid to the victim. Both Santiago and Guzman allegedly returned to the scene of the crime multiple times before Santiago removed Dimka from the scene by placing him in the back seat of his car. Santiago then took the body to his home in Bloomfield, where he, his mother, and Guzman allegedly discussed what to do with the body. The Essex County Prosecutor's Office said that Santiago's father, who is also a Newark Police Department lieutenant, eventually called 911 and reported that his son was involved in a car accident. When the officials with the New Jersey State Police arrived to Santiago's home, they discovered Dimka deceased in the back seat of his car. Santiago was eventually arrested and charged with numerous crimes, including reckless vehicular homicide, desecrating or moving human remains, leaving the scene of a crash resulting in death, endangering an injured victim, hindering one's own apprehension, conspiracy to hinder prosecution, tampering with physical evidence, obstruction, the administration of law, and 2 counts of official misconduct. Then not so much charges, them drop on him one. So Santiago's mother, 53-year-old Annette Santiago, and Guzman were also charged in the crime. They were both charged with conspiracy to desecrate human remains, hindering apprehension, conspiracy to hinder apprehension, and tampering with physical evidence. All 3 defendants have been arrested, charged, and released with conditions. It is unclear if Santiago is still employed by the Newark Police. Then they don't need to be unclear of whether he's still employed by the police department. There is no way that he should still be employed by the police department. None. Thank God the father had sense to actually call 911 to say, hey, my son did this. What is wrong with people? Enid said that he's more than a mama's boy. What is wrong with people? Like, how do you hit somebody, then you take up the body, put it in the car, carry it, go home, for your mother give you advice? On what? Dear parents, please raise your child to be independent and to know right from wrong. That's it. That's a tweet. That's it. Amen. We're moving on to New York, where a 5-year-old in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Oh, we're moving on to Minnesota. A 5-year-old in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota was shot and killed on Thanksgiving by a 13-year-old who accidentally fired a gun while a group of kids were making a video for social media. Brooklyn Park Police responded to a home on Florida Avenue around 10:20 p.m. Thursday in response to reports of a child who had been shot. Officers attempted to render first aid, however, the child died at the scene. Police determined through a preliminary investigation that a 13-year-old boy was handling a gun inside the home. Several other juveniles were present as they were attempting to make a social media video. It remains unclear exactly what circumstances led up to the shooting, but at some point the teen shot the gun, striking the 5-year-old. Police said, adding, investigators believe the shooting was accidental. The teen was arrested and is currently in custody at the Hennepin County Juvenile Detention Center, and the investigation is ongoing. Why does a 13-year-old need a gun to create content for social media? Who do you blame in this instance? The person who didn't put away the gun properly? The fact that there was actually a gun in the house? The fact that a 13-year-old thinks that he needed a gun to create content for social media? But I understand. Somebody please make it make sense. Make it make sense. I don't understand. I don't understand. If you've just joined, jump on, say hi, say hello. We don't bite over here. I see you shadow watching. We don't bite. Say hello. I am not quite sure, but we're moving on to Texas. Enid said should not have it at the first. That's what I'm thinking, but hey, it is what it is. So we're moving on to Texas, where a Texas man this week was charged with murder after his wife was found dead in their home days after the couple took out a life insurance policy. So Christopher Collins, age 41, told police he suspected his wife was killed by intruders, but he has since been charged with murder in the case of his wife's death. 2 days before her death, the couple signed a $250,000 life insurance policy. Collins was set to appear in court today, but didn't because of mental health reasons. It is unclear how Collins intends to plead, and his attorney could not be immediately found for comment. Apparently, Collins called Harris County Sheriff's deputies requesting a welfare check on his wife, Yan Ling, age 46. Collins met police at his home on Clayton Buff Lane in Cypress, Texas. He told authorities his wife sent him a text message about a person outside their home while he was at the gym and getting something to eat. The caller reported that he lost contact with his wife shortly after she reported the suspicious male near their residence, the police report reads. The deputy entered the residence with the husband and they discovered the wife deceased inside the house. Collins paused momentarily in the doorway, dropped his bags, and ran into the living room where Liang was found lying on the floor with visible blood on her shirt and a bag covering her head. According to the police reports, there were no signs of forced entry into the home from inside. The officers observed the back door was unlocked and 4 dogs were in the backyard. Investigators said they found no signs of forced entry and nothing had been stolen from the home. Collins also told police the couple did not have a life insurance policy because they had missed a payment on it. However, while officers were searching the home, they found a sheet of paper on the desk, and the paper was for life insurance policy for $250,000, which both parties had signed on November 16, 2021. Hi. An autopsy conducted by the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences found that Liang died from a gunshot wound to the head, and the manner of death was determined to be homicide. Medical examiners determined the bullet was fired from a .22 or a .25 caliber weapon. Police stated that the officers said they found a .22 cartridge in Collins' pocket. The man didn't even have the good sense to get rid of the cartridge. Collins has since been charged with murder, and he was taken to the Harris County Jail where he's being held on a $150,000 bond. Him never watch ID. Him never watch Forensic Files. Him never watch Fear Thy Neighbor. There's so many shows that he could have watched, but he never did because he wouldn't have been that stupid. Never did. Never did. Lindsay says, stupid, no-brainer, criminal mark. The man never watched any of those stations. Him never watch TLC, A&E, ID, none of them stations. He would have known better. He would have known better. We're going to move on to Russia. And if you're squeamish, this isn't the the news report for you for this particular news item. So a confessed cannibal in northern Russia was arrested Saturday after a decapitated corpse allegedly fell out of the trunk of his car. Russian authorities took Yegor Komarov, age 23, into custody after he crashed his Mitsubishi into a safety barrier, causing the headless body of a man to fall out of the vehicle. Komarov fled with 2 men into the woods of Sortavala, but they left the dead man's body on the road next to his vehicle, where police discovered ropes and spades. The man's body, whose head was nearly Wally Severe. It is believed to be a 50-year-old businessman who was killed by the three suspects after a dispute. In general, I like killing people, Komarov reportedly said. He also confessed to killing a 38-year-old man in St. Petersburg and eating parts of him in 2020. When he died, I gutted his neck and tasted the blood and meat, Komarov reportedly said. But the meat was difficult to cut as the knife was blunt, and I did not like the taste of his veins. The 23-year-old man said he tried cooking the man's tongue in butter. He tried it, but he didn't like it, he said, telling investigators to make sure his handcuffs were tied to prevent him from biting them. But I probably would have liked another body part. Komarov is from St. Petersburg and lives with his family and is interested in anarcho-primitivism and the elixirs of immortality, according to investigators. We're going to move on to New York. And in moving on to New York, we're going to move on to the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. So, Ghislaine Maxwell is for those of you who may not remember who she is, she was the girlfriend, longtime companion, and alleged trafficking partner for the late Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire man who killed himself in a prison. So she's his girlfriend, and she's accused of being the enabler of recruiting and grooming young girls for him to abuse. So her trial started earlier this week. So they did the jury trial, and I think today's day 3 of the trial. And some of the things that some of the evidence that the prosecutor have is that Maxwell knew that the victims, which included a 14-year-old, were all below the age of consent, and that she arranged travel for some between Epstein's homes, including his estate in Palm Beach, Florida, his posh Manhattan townhouse, and at other residents in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and London. Maxwell, age 59, has pleaded not guilty to 8 charges of sex trafficking and other 8 charges of sex trafficking and other crimes, including 2 counts of perjury. So the perjury charges will be tried at a later date. So for right now, she's just being charged on the 8 counts of sex trafficking, and she faces up to 80 years in prison if she's convicted. So just to break down a little bit of what's been laid out in court for the last couple of days. From the prosecutors, when they were presenting their case, they stated that Maxwell encouraged the girls to massage Epstein while the girls were fully or partially naked. They're saying that in some cases, Epstein or Maxwell would pay them cash or offer to pay for their travel or education, and Epstein sometimes masturbated or touched the girls' genitals during the massages. Prosecutors are also alleging that the victims were made to feel indebted and believe that Maxwell and Epstein were trying to help them. In some instances, they're claiming that Maxwell was present for and participated in the sexual abuse of the minor victims. Maxwell was arrested back in July 2020, and she's been denied bail 4 times because they've concluded that she's a flight risk. So she spent the last 17 months in isolation at a Brooklyn detention center, where she's complaining about the unsanitary conditions in jail. So just a few takeaway from the trial so far. So we're going to go back to what happened on Tuesday. The first accuser in the sex trafficking trial took the witness stand, and she's been identified by the pseudonym Jane because apparently she's now an actress and doesn't want her real name out in the public stratosphere. So the witness testified that she had been sexually abused for years by Miss Maxwell and her former partner, Jeffrey Epstein, beginning when she was 14. Jane said she saw Miss Maxwell as an older sister before she was sexually abused by Mr. Epstein. Jane said Mr. Epstein sexually abused her for the first time in the pool house on his Palm Beach estate. She said she remembered maybe the first time I went to the poolside and I walked out there were these 4 women and Ghislaine, all topless, and some of them were naked, Jane said. I was just shocked because I hadn't seen that before. Later, she said Miss Maxwell was present when Mr. Epstein had sexual interactions with her and acted like it was no big deal. Sometimes, she said, Miss Maxwell participated. She also gave instructions on how to give Mr. Epstein erotic massages. Jane said the abuse went on for years and at times involved groups of people. So Alison Moe, who is a federal prosecutor, asked Jane if she ever talked to family or friends about the abuse or saw a guidance counselor growing up. Jane said she was grieving her father's death at one point and feeling neglected by her mother when in 7th grade she saw a counselor. She told the counselor how she was feeling and how sad she was and how unavailable my mother was. She said the counselor called her mother, who responded to the call by berating and slapping Jane. Jane did not return to counseling. So that's what happened on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, Jane said she initially met the couple at a talent camp and was invited to the Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach by Ghislaine. There's some conflicting statements about who approached whom first, because I think in one of her statement to the police, she had said that it was Ghislaine that approached her about becoming about meeting Jeffrey, and in another statement she stated that it was Jeffrey that had initiated whatever. So they're trying to discredit her using those 2 statements against her, as well as the fact that she waited 20 years to come forward. Now, she was not one of the initial accusers when Jeffrey Epstein was alive. So they're stating that she was one of the ones that was paid quietly and was supposed to get more money quietly, but then Jeffrey Epstein died. So they're stating that now, since Jeffrey Epstein has died and she's not going to be getting any more money, she saw it fit to come forward to state her claim and all of that. So part of the prosecution thing is asking, the defendant's thing is asking why it took her 20 years to come and make her claim. So that, that's a part of what happened between yesterday. So I will keep you guys posted as to what happened in this coming week, but know that it should be quite interesting. The trial is not being televised, and some people are not. Again, the media doesn't like the fact that it's not being televised. However, because it's a different jurisdiction with regards to like the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and the Ahmaud Arbery trial, murder trial, those cases were state cases and county cases. So those happen in county courts. Ghislaine's trial is a federal charge, federal courts, federal jurisdiction. So that's why her trial is not being televised, because it's a federal trial and they're governed by different rules. And 9 times out of 10, those trials are not televised. So I will keep you guys posted, keep you updated as to what's happening with the trial until it concludes. We're going to move to Jamaica. And this story popped up today, and I don't know, I guess when you live your life certain way, you're gonna dead certain way. But it's just interesting that this particular guy, 28-year-old Darren Percy Cousins, a targeted man who escaped the wrath of gunmen during a drive-by shooting in Kintyre, St. Andrew last Friday, was shot and killed by a lone gunman in the community on Monday. Residents said that they heard explosion and they summoned the police, and he was pronounced dead at the hospital. One of his friends stated that they shoot after him Friday. I spoke to him on Saturday and tell him to just lay low, and this go happen. Them kill him on one of the lanes up there, he said. Investigators also said that he was on their radar because of his influence and because he was affiliated with the Christopher Dogpaw Linton faction of Tavern 6 Kingston 6. Cousin's younger brother, Romain Diddy Richards, who was described as Linton's right hand, was shot and killed in Kintyre by rival gangsters on Tuesday, August 10th. Cousins himself reportedly had to run for his life during that attack. So right now, that particular community, police are keep a close watch on the community in order to see if there's going to be any reprisals, right? But it's funny that it's not funny. It's just, I guess when you live, like I said, when you live a certain lifestyle, you expect certain things. Because Dogpaw come out of jail in April and by October and then this particular guy, them kill him cousin in August. Him get away from that shooting. Them shoot after him Friday. Him get away, and Monday somebody go shoot him. So it's like Final Destination. They must catch you by any means necessary. They must catch him by any means necessary. And that, my people, is the end of the news section of the program. I'm going to go to the Soul Chattingz section. And it says, common sense is not a gift. It's a punishment because you have to deal with everyone who doesn't have it. Can I get an amen from the choir? I need an amen from the choir on this one. Common sense is not a gift. It's a punishment because you have to deal with everyone who does not have it. And with that, my peeps, we've come to the end of the show. Thanks for taking time out to watch this live. It was quite interesting for me. Learned some stuff. Hopefully, it was as interesting and entertaining for you guys as well. Hopefully, I was able to, tell a little bit of something what you probably never know before or something. So good night, everybody. Good night, Enid. Have a blessed night. Have a blessed week. Hopefully, you guys tune in again next week, Thursday, same time, same place, where we will do this again. So see you next Thursday at 9 p.m. Bye, everybody.